Been together 18 years, now it's the legacy. Like sweeter with you by my side, just like some Nestle. I'm better with you right here standing next to me. Me and you together with God is the right recipe. With Jesus dying on that cross, it's a necessity. Always make me feel at ease when weight is pressing me. You and me walking together through life's complexities. Family and ministry, flowing just like TNT.
All right. I want to welcome you to another episode of TNT Legacy. Thank you for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button, share, let a friend know about the new podcast. We appreciate you. Here with my lovely wife, Thais. I want to pick up on a conversation we were having last time about how we ultimately ended up together. And we stopped last time talking about you letting me know that you needed some time to fast and pray. After I dropped a bombshell in your lap of thinking that the Lord was making it clear to me that we should get married, which is interesting because I know people have said that and that not be the case. I think you've even experienced that yourself. So why don't you elaborate just on how you were feeling once I said that, and why you chose to fast and pray and not talk to me, and go from there.
Yeah, so those words can be very heavy, carry a lot of weight with them, right? So to hear them can be, I don't know, I guess some women probably, that's what they long to hear. But in that moment when you said it to me, due to the fact that I was coming out of another relationship that I thought would end in marriage, and that where those words had been said as well, it was scary, and it was, whoa, hold on now. I'm not gonna say that you're lying or that that's not true, but I'm also not just about to take you at face value, because like I said, the Lord needs to tell me the same thing. And so that's what the whole fasting and praying, that's where that came from, because if the Lord was telling you that, then, and I have my own relationship with the Lord, I hear from the Father as well, then not a knock on your leadership or anything, but given that we weren't married yet, I wasn't under your leadership yet, and I just wholeheartedly believe that, you know, in order for me to agree with you and to move forward, that the Lord would have to make it clear to me the same thing that he had revealed to you. And I wanted that assurance before moving forward. Yeah.
What did you remember what you did during that time? Anything stands out in your mind?
Yeah. Two things stand out. One thing was I talked to my ex and felt like I really finally had, like, for real closure. And then the other thing, I just remember reading about when Isaac was about to be sacrificed, right? And he was the promise. And so the way it kind of stuck out to me at that time, I feel like the Lord used it just to make it clear to me that, hey, not necessarily that he had promised me marriage, but if there was this one thing that was precious to me that I wanted, I had to also be willing to give that up and trust him with it, whether he were to give it back or to take it away for good and give me something else. And so that's what spoke to me about my previous relationship. Like, I can put this on the altar with every intention of sacrificing it, and I can let it go all the way. And if the Lord gives it back to me, great. And if he doesn't, great. And so that lesson came actually before the conversation with my ex. And then once I talked to him, I was able to walk away from that conversation and be like, it's done. Lord, you will not withhold any good thing from me. If you wanted me to have that, then I would have that, or that person, or that marriage with that person. And if not, then there is something else better that you have for me. Even if it's not marriage, even if it's just being with the Father in singlehood. Like whatever is best for me and whatever is the good thing for me, it's not that. So, yeah.
That's deep. You know, while you were praying and fasting for that week, I also remember, you know, God kind of had me on a journey myself. I think it was, I want to say it was homecoming again. And, you know, that week I knew I would also see the person that I had been interested in for the last couple of years of college, and we had both graduated at that point and moved on, you know, from school.
Sure.
And, you know, working outside of school, even though I was still at Tuskegee because I was on staff with the college ministry. But I remember seeing that person back on campus for homecoming, and I remember having a conversation with them and just letting them know. And I don't even know why I felt the need to let them know, but just letting them know that I had moved on and that the Lord had made it clear to me what direction I needed to be going in, which was strange because I hadn't even talked to you yet. You hadn't told me
know
what the outcome of, you know, your fasting and praying was,
Sure.
But my mind was made up, and I didn't want to see this person as, you know, if it doesn't work out with you, I can be interested in them. And I was very confident that the Lord was leading me in the direction of us. And regardless of what you would have said, I would have hung around, waited around, which I ended up having to do some of that. But I wasn't going anywhere, and I was committed to whatever that looked like moving forward. And so I just told him, hey, I know we're not in a relationship, but you're back on campus, and I just feel the need to communicate this with you. Fast forward, they did come back and tell me that they actually thought that I was going to ask them to marry me and that they were going to say yes if I did. But like I said, the Lord made it clear to me that that wasn't the direction I needed to go in. And when you got back from your fast, I remember you telling me that you still wasn't sure about us, but you knew the Lord had kind of given you closure on your previous relationship, which I could respect.
Yeah.
And that sent us on a, I don't know,
Couple more months.
3-4 month journey of me trying to convince you that I was the one and that you should say yes. And I remember coming to visit you in Las Vegas, catching a plane to visit you in Las Vegas, hanging out with you and your aunt, getting to know you some more, and, you know, just hanging out kind of like in a dating sense.
Yeah.
And getting to meet your family. I want to say, did we drive to? Yeah, we drove to California, to LA, so I could meet your mom and dad, your grandmom. Just met a whole bunch of the family. And, you know, I'm thinking, hey, I done flew out here for a week. I done met everybody. Everybody loved me. You were going to be like, okay, I'm ready. You was like, nah, I need some more time. So I remember that being like November-ish. And then I remember in January, I think your family was hanging out with you at a step competition, or maybe I went somewhere together as a family. I can't remember the details. But anyway, I think you were hanging out with them, and you called me and you told me, you know, that you feel like the Lord had given you peace about moving forward. And by March, I had bought a ring and coming back to California to ask you to marry me, and did that in front of your grandmom and your parents. And do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that. Your grandmom, shout out to Grandma Irene.
Grandma Irene.
She was so excited.
Oh, yes.
She was so overjoyed. She's no longer here with us, but she really embraced me. She made me feel like, you know, I felt like a grandchild.
You
know,
were.
The way
You were.
she loved on me, bragged on me. And then we ended up getting married in June.
Yeah.
And I don't always share this, but I went on a 40-day fast between asking you to marry me and standing at that altar. I think I was looking back at the marriage photos. Very thin. I had not
You
eaten.
were. You were.
Only drank juice and water and drinks I shouldn't have been drinking. Fasting, like milk and things.
Strawberry milk.
Oh, my God.
Don't do
Talk
that.
about not
If you're
knowing what you're
fasting,
doing.
do not do that.
But anyway, I remember taking it very serious.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that I wanted to honor the Lord in my marriage, that I wanted to pray for protection over us, and that God would look out for us and point us in the right direction. And I'm so glad that I did. I can definitely see his hand on us as a result. I also remember once you finally said, okay, I can see this happening, I remember trying to talk you out of it. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember trying.
Who does that?
I know,
Who
right?
tries to convince someone and then...
I remember, I don't know, I think I was thinking like, you know.
You wanted me to count the cost.
Yeah,
That's
I wanted
what
you
it
to count
was.
the cost
I
because
knew
I'm
that.
like, Jesus is everything to me.
Yeah.
I want to try to live that out all my days.
Yeah.
I don't want marriage to get in the way of that. And I wanted to be with somebody that wanted that for themselves as well, to chase Christ wherever he leads. So I just remember saying, hey, I could end up in Africa. I don't know where I'm going to be, but wherever Jesus says go, I want to be able to go.
Yeah.
And I can remember having that conversation with you more than one time and trying to push you away and be like, hey, you know, we don't have to do this.
Yeah.
We can go our separate ways. And one statement I'll never forget, you said, you remember what you said? As one of them, let's go our separate way talks.
Yeah, it was referencing, it was something I had heard in college, referencing the missionaries, the old school missionaries, and how they used to, when they would go, they would take with them their coffins because that was it. They wasn't, they wasn't necessarily planning on coming back. They was going to go and they was going to give it everything and they was going to die doing whatever the Lord had for them to do. So I think I told you that, the way I pictured marriage and life with my spouse was going somewhere and working for the Lord and dying together, just giving our lives together for the Lord.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me. And all these years later, you have kept true to your words that day and at the altar of being willing to pray about anything the Lord would bring up. I also remember us going around talking to different people that we respected. I remember dragging you around to
so many interviews,
pastors and mentors. And be like, hey,
I lost count how many people grilled us.
Thinking about getting married. What y'all think? What y'all think about me? What y'all think about her? Mm-hmm. Should we do this? Should we not do this?
Yeah.
And I remember getting so many affirmations and just good advice, people looking out for us, which made me feel better about, what we were about to embark on. You say the same?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you nervous about me dragging you around?
Am I nervous?
Were you nervous about me dragging you around?
No, because I honestly, one of the things that gave me peace about moving forward with you, Terrence, was you had a track record of hearing from the Lord and being obedient to whatever call he had issued to you. And so my thing was, okay, as long as you're hearing from the Lord, we good. And so, whenever you bring to me anything, if it's move to Africa, okay, well, did the Lord say that? If it's go to seminary, okay, so this is what God is telling you. And as long as you can confidently, you're confidently operating out of the Lord's direction and not just what you want to do at the moment, then we good. I know the Lord will provide, and he'll work it out. And even if it doesn't turn out the way we want it to turn out, he will use it for our good and for his glory.
Yeah, I think that question, being on the receiving end of that question, is a little bit terrifying, only because then I have to examine myself, make sure my motives are pure, make sure I'm not just making things up as I go, that I have some sense of conviction from the Holy Spirit, green light from God's word, and the covering of wise counsel, before moving forward. So shout out to understanding that formula and trying to put it into practice. And by God's grace, he's kept us. And, every now and then I'll throw out something, say something, you'd be like, psh, I know the Lord ain't tell you. Get out of my face. Which is, I'm like, babe, for real? And I'm like, nah. So I know you hear what I'm saying, and then you take it and you pray as well.
Absolutely.
And, make sure that, there's nothing obvious standing out that is derailing us from being where God wants us to be, which is where we've tried to be. So, where we always try to be is where he wants us. So, with the time we have left in this episode, I think we should hop into, God has shown us several things over the course of our marriage, just tips of how to navigate marriage in a way that's been very beneficial and helpful, and a way that has been empowering and life-giving. Some of them may sound cliche or things that are obvious. Some of them may work. They definitely work. Some of them may be more nuanced and new to people's ears, but we'll just not hammer out a couple of them today. Okay. But these aren't necessarily the order we got them in, but it's just whatever order they come to my mind for now. We'll do one overarching kind of theological one, and then we'll do one very practical one. But the first one, and you referenced this recently, makes me bring it up, but it's the idea. So we used to have these numbered. So I'm not going to number them because I think I want to add to the list, but we'll number them on the back end. But we'll give them to you, a number to them now, but I don't want to say what the total is in case my count is off. But the first one definitely being, it is ultimately God who keeps us together. When you hear that thought, it's ultimately God who keeps us together, what comes to your mind? What do we mean by that?
We mean that our marriage can only be successful because God is in control of it. There is no matter of self-help and good communication skills and the things that it takes to make a marriage. That is God who does that. A marriage that is honoring to the Lord and that follows the design that he has given us. Because there are some worldly marriages, but I'm not talking about that. God has to do that. It is absolutely a supernatural working of the Holy Spirit through two sinners saved by grace and bringing them together and making them one in such a way that reflects the relationship between Christ and the church. That is a work of God.
Yeah, and I think something else, another aspect of that thought also is, just a reminder that though we sit here 18 years in and we look on our relationship with joy, excitement about the future, clarity, not having a mountain of scars and wounds that we've given to each other, there's a sense where we could almost think that we're doing it.
Yeah. We're not.
That somehow,
done it.
some way, because we are this way or because we are that way or because we had this training or gone to this conference or graduated from this school or whatever,
Yeah.
because we were part of this college ministry, that somehow, some way that we are responsible for our relationship. And I think the thought of is ultimately God that keeps us together is a reminder that this is a work of grace. This is a work of God. We are the beneficiaries of his work in our life, both as we've discussed from our youth to growing in the faith to even being Christians. You know, like one of the questions our kids ask us, you know, or sometimes they've asked that they've wrestled with their own faith, you know, how do I know God is real?
Yeah.
Like, you guys say he's real. How do I know he's real? And one of the things I point to is your very existence in this family is evidence that God is real, because your parents' lives have been radically transformed by the gospel, and you are the beneficiary of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about your lights, your water. You don't grow up in a home where you hear your parents yelling and screaming at each other. You don't have the anxiety of you know, fearing that your parents aren't going to be together based on their interactions that you observe. Like, so many elements of peace and God's grace in their life is a result of God changing our lives. So I'll be trying to point that out. And so I don't want people to look at this podcast and conclude, oh, they so great.
Yeah, no.
Oh, they got it together. They, you know, marriage goals, we need to be like them. No. This is a work of God. If anything, you want to cling to him.
Yeah.
Another aspect of it, I think, is the fact that it is a reminder of our need to stay dependent on him.
Yeah.
Like, it's spending time in his word, staying at his feet, staying in prayer. A lot of the lessons that we're going to unfold over the course of these early episodes in our podcast are things that God brought to our attention in the first year or two of our marriage. Things that he made plain to us as we study the word and spend time with each other, spend time in the church, learn and grow, that these things just rose to the surface.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is also fruit of the fasting and praying that we did before we got married, the commitment to stay on our knees and pray and seek God for strength and guidance. Like, I feel like so many people would grow in their relationship with each other if they would just ultimately commit to growing in their relationship with God. And so we're not going to get on the whiteboard, but if you can imagine a triangle with three sides, and the triangle, at two of the base points of the triangle, you have a Thais and you have me. And I think we learned this in premarital counseling. Shout out to premarital counseling.
Ooh,
something else
absolutely.
we did that most definitely set us up for success as we studied each other and asked each other tons of questions and tried to turn over every rock of, you know, our thoughts and beliefs about having kids, money, communication styles, all of those different, intimacy, all those different things was a huge blessing. And one of the things we talked about, if I'm here and you're here and God is at the point of this triangle, as we grow closer to him, we ultimately grow closer to each other. Yeah. That is huge. If you're not spending time in the word, if you're not spending time in prayer for yourself to get close to God, to maintain your relationship with him, it'll be very hard to have the relationship and thrive in a relationship with another human being. So The first one, it is ultimately God that keeps us together. The last one is a bit funny, and the next one is a bit funny, but because of the backstory. But always know your role. Always know your role.
Some people ain't gonna like to hear that.
Well, what we mean by that is, if God has placed me as the head of the household and to be a sacrificial leader, then I don't need to be trying to run away from that responsibility. And for you, if he's asked you to be a helper and to submit to that leadership, you don't need to be running away from that responsibility. And I think that I know where this lesson came from. In the early days of our engagement and our marriage,
Yeah.
I had a tendency to walk off.
Yeah, you actually literally
walk off. Like, if I don't agree with what's going on, I just walk off and walk out. So, do you remember we went Home Depot?
Yeah.
Before we got married.
Some paint colors.
Yeah, we were in Home Depot. I was trying to remodel. I'm trying to
get the house ready.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the house ready. Yeah, I'm gonna put some money into this paint on the walls. I'm gonna get these bathrooms redone because it just be me and some single dudes up in this house. I own my own house, by the way. 24 years old. Shout out to owning your own crib. But I had bought a house, and anyway, I was trying to remodel it, make it wife ready. And so we're at Home Depot, and I'm asking you about paint colors and tiles, and you come in the store and you're like a deer in the headlights. You don't want to make no decisions. I'm asking you, hey, what do you want? And you just stuck, froze, and I just get super frustrated. And I just walk right out. I'm like, man, I'm done with this. He got me in here trying to do all this work, spending all this money. You can't even pick the color? That was my young, immature attitude. And then I remember our first shopping trip to the grocery store.
This was after.
After the
wedding.
On the honeymoon. Yeah. After I done got down there and washed your feet.
Oh.
During the ceremony, in front of 100 witnesses. The first shopping trip for groceries. I walked clean out the store. Because I'm like, it don't take all this time to buy a box of cereal. Nor is it necessary to differentiate a 15-cent difference on the price of these things. And we just had two completely different shopping styles.
Yeah, you wanted to walk in and just pick it up. I need to look at the price.
I'm out, frustrated. I don't want to talk about it no more. I'm gone. I'm in the parking lot somewhere. So this was the early days of having to deal with me. Then, after we left the honeymoon, which ultimately we had a pretty good 2 weeks.
Great honeymoon.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But those moments
there
of
were
my
some
tendencies,
moments.
right?
Yeah.
And so we leave the honeymoon. I call my dad, and I say, Dad, I need to borrow your truck and your trailer. No. Because I'm going to drive from Florida up to North Carolina, where her stuff was at the time, so we could move into our house in Alabama. And he says, well, son, we country talk. This country dad, the country new husband talk. How much stuff does she have? Thais, how much stuff do you have? Oh, it's just a few boxes, this, a washer and dryer. And my dad's like, well, son, you only need the truck. You don't need the trailer, if that's all she has. And I'm like, cool. I'm just going to take the truck.
Can I get my disclaimer?
My dad has visually heard and visualized what I need. I'm talking to him, communicate. And then, boom, we hit the road. Yeah, go ahead.
In my defense.
Okay.
I had been travel nursing.
True.
And had not seen my possessions in over a year.
That's irrelevant.
No, it's not.
That's irrelevant. You should have known what you had. No, that actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You hadn't
I
seen
thought
it
it
in
was a
while.
lot less than what it really
So-
was.
So we get there, and I open the door to look at your stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, there is no way I can get all this stuff on this truck. And so I began to say, you know what? I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
You remember what you said?
I said, well, sweetie, maybe we should rent a trailer.
You want to rent a trailer, which
Yeah.
I had free access to a trailer. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I had a trailer.
Yes, you did.
What I need to rent a trailer for? I had a trailer.
You're
you,
right.
you got the woman you gave me.
Oh,
You made me think I didn't need the trailer. Is my attitude.
I was mistaken.
And so I felt like what you were really communicating, which was also untrue, is that you didn't think I could do it. That you didn't believe in my ability to pack this truck with all your belongings, even though it was clearly
Too
not
much.
enough. Yeah, clearly too much space and not enough room to actually get it done. So I proceed to pack, and now I'm in my feelings, and here's where the always know your role comes in. I'm in my feelings. You already know I got this walk-off ministry going. I will leave her and go do my own thing because I'm frustrated. And we're in this truck. I'm believing lies that she don't believe in me. She don't think I can pack this truck. I packed this truck. But now I'm not communicating. I don't want to talk. And I'm letting you figure things out on your own with no input.
Yeah.
I'm just checked out, and which means I'm not operating in my role as leader and protector of our home. I send you on a wild goose chase on your own, making phone calls, trying to find a U-Haul. Because you was like, I think we should get a U-Haul again. So I was like, well, you do it then. You want a trailer? You find a trailer in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere.
I had never
You
rented a
find a
trailer.
trailer. She had never
I
rented a
did
trailer.
not know what I was doing.
I'm from South Georgia.
Yeah.
You do it. That's kind of my attitude. And so I let you make calls. And
Yeah.
I think you found this little trailer in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't even a whole U-Haul facility. It was just like a little gas station.
And they was about to close.
And they were about to close, so I barely made it in there. I try to hook up the trailer. Mind you, since I'm not communicating, never mind the fact that the ball don't even fit on the trailer properly. And anyway, I kind of jimmy rig it, going about my business. And then I think you said you wanted to tell me how to pack the trailer.
Oh.
So I'm like, why is she trying to tell? I'm saying
I made a suggestion.
I'm saying I want to put the mattresses for your bed in the trailer. And you said something like, oh yeah, I don't think, it need to go in. I said, forget it. I ain't gonna even put them in. I'm gonna leave them on the back of the truck. So anyway, we pack all this stuff, put some of it in the U-Haul, start taking off driving down the road. Next thing I know, I look back on the back of the truck and the mattress and the box spring gone.
Gosh.
We driving down I-85.
Yep.
No mattress, no box spring. We turn around on I-85. And next thing you know, I got my new wife in the dark running across the interstate with a mattress, trying not to get hit by a car.
After it has rained, it was wet.
Raining,
Yeah.
all kind of stuff going on.
Yep.
And so we eventually get that stuff and get it back on the truck. I want to say I went ahead and put it inside the trailer. The trailer was one of those enclosed deals. And then we go on to the hotel. And I don't know if it was that night or the next morning, but that's when God really started dealing with me. Like, man, you just really left her out here on the island by herself. Like, you're not being helpful. You're not communicating. You're just in your feelings. You got all these wrong interpretations and you don't want to listen. You can't allow frustration to take you out of your roles and responsibilities and have you give up. It's almost like where it says in Ephesians 4, don't let the sun go down on your wrath, because in doing that, you give the devil an opportunity. It's like when that conflict is there and you allow that anger to fester, like you make room for the enemy to come in and do things when you are not operating in your role. So that has constantly been in my mind since then, right after the honeymoon. And we laugh and joke about it now.
Sure.
It was pretty traumatic at the time, but God used running across that street. I think the next day, you remember the U-Haul trailer?
Yeah, I remember.
Became unhooked from the truck, and it was flailing back and forth.
Sparks
and sparks
were
was flying on the
flying
freeway. And we had to stop and we had to get the proper connection piece that we needed to make it all work right, which we would have been able to do the day before had we been communicating with each other.
Yeah.
And so God used all of that to just kind of show me, like, man, God has given us roles. And when we operate in those roles, we give ourselves the best opportunity to succeed. And so I'm sure that there have been moments where, like, I've been standoffish and not want to communicate since then. But I think the foundation of, man, you got roles and responsibilities here you can't check out, has been a prevalent thought in my mind. And I know the Lord has used that to protect, our relationship. So spouses, if you're listening or you're thinking about getting married, please understand the role God has given you as a spouse and do your best to operate in whatever that role is, and don't allow the devil to tempt you to jump out of those roles and operate in a way that's not God honoring, because you're only shooting yourself in the foot as it relates to your marriage. So you got anything else you want to say about these two? It's ultimately God who keeps us together, and always know your role.
Yep.
Satisfied?
Satisfied.
All right, guys, we want to encourage you to tune in next time as we continue to unfold several lessons that we've learned in our 18 years of marriage that we hope will be a blessing to you. Please subscribe and share the page. Let somebody know that we are trying to give some gospel truths and some things that have helped us along the way to have a thriving marriage. So thank you for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you. See ya.
Been together 18 years, now it's the legacy. Like sweeter with you by my side, just like some Nestle. I'm better with you right here standing next to me. Me and you together with God is the right recipe. With Jesus dying on that cross, it's a necessity. Always make me feel at ease when weight is pressing me. You and me walking together through life's complexities. Family and ministry, flowing just like TNT.